Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Justin.
So last week we were speculating about the Memorial Cup, but now we know we did not get the Memorial Cup. It went to Guelph.
I mean, congrats to Guelph.
Yes,
that's cool.
Congrats to Guelph. It's going to be fun.
It's cool that we can drive to it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you can stop and get a Cinnabon on your way at the mall as you enter to go into the Sleeman Center. And when you enter through the mall, make sure you enter through the mall.
Yeah, because that's the downtown connection.
Exactly. Yeah. So we went low key viral.
Yeah. Yeah.
For our joke clip about parking problems and that it's in a mall.
Yeah.
Like, people took it very seriously.
Yeah.
I was very confused why the 135th person on TikTok felt the need to tell us that there was parking when there was 134 comments prior to that there were parking.
Yep.
I think maybe the joke went over their head a little bit.
Yeah. The best part is that we recorded that not knowing who won. So it was purely a joke, but
purely a joke.
But,
and it's so funny that's what our highest performing clip to all three social medias combined by far, over 50,000 views on TikTok. People in Guelph are really passionate about their Sleeman Center. I've been there once. I had a great time. Thought it was a great building.
Yeah.
I thought it was funky that we went in through the mall. Like, I thought that was cool. I think it'll be a great venue for the Memorial Cup. Obviously, we're salty.
Yeah, we're salty. We wanted it to be in Kitchener at the odd.
Of course.
We are the odd pod.
We're the odd pod. Yes, exactly. We are not an unbiased.
We're allowed to be biased.
Media source. We are a biased media source. So that was fun. I did enjoy getting into it with people in a market that I'm like, I don't have any beef with Guelph at all, the city or the team or anything. So that was fun. It was the lone bright spot in what was a very disappointing thing. And I think the difference was, personally, maybe some whispers from people close to the team, but the 200th year celebration, it was going to be hard to beat that, because the culmination of those two things hitting at the exact same time, what are the odds, So I think it was hard to beat that in the committee's eyes. Unfortunately, obviously, I think the odd is more well equipped, but again, I'm biased, so we don't have to argue too much, because we're going to agree, right?
And it will only be the 76th anniversary of the odd the year the Memorial Cup happens, not the 75th.
Right. But Kitchener is 218 years old.
Also doesn't really.
No. I mean, it's an older number.
Yeah.
It's longer. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. We can still drive there. And like I said we're not going to drive there in most of those responses that I had, because we're going to be Ubering or taking public transit, because we are going to be popping bottles and drinking beers, because we'll be celebrating a Memorial Cup victory in their building.
Because, yes, there is... hosting the Memorial Cup is the easy way to the Memorial Cup.
Oh, yeah.
That's the cheat.
Easy.
It's the cheat code. But you know how you
champs.
You can also get there by winning the CHL championship. So
you can. They can't stop you from getting in if you win the whole thing.
Yeah. So there you go.
See you in 2027.
See you there.
Save us a parking spot. I'm just kidding, by the way. I know that there's no Cinnabon in your mall with 10 stores in it. I totally get a Cinnabon. Okay.
The mushroom shop is pretty good. It's not magic mushrooms. It's literally like shiitakes.
Cue the intro.
Welcome to the Odd Pod, where we're talking Kitchener Rangers hockey with the oddballs themselves, Andrew and Justin. Take it away, fellas.
Andrew, so Guelph is in 2 years. They're celebrating their 200th year of being a city. In an equally impressive number, the Odd Pod today is celebrating our 50th episode, which is also Andrew's birthday episode.
My birthday.
Everyone sing with me. No, we're not going to sing on a podcast.
I am also turning 200.
You are, yeah.
I should have been on the bid committee is what I'm saying.
Well, then they would have been like,
Yeah.
Andrew's going to be 202, which again is not an impressive number. So,
okay, well, that's unfortunate.
200 because it will happen before your birthday. Well, happy birthday, Andrew.
Thank you.
I do not promise to not post a creepy photo of you again this year on the Instagram.
Oh yeah, like I did today. We're recording on Tuesday. I post that diabolical, I said it was, the sticker in the Instagram story. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a little preemptive warfare there. Good.
Yeah, totally.
And for our 50th episode anniversary, I don't know, that's a mouthful. 50th episode, we're doing a giveaway. We announced it last week.
We are.
But we're giving away on Monday, December 1st. That's our giveaway. So we have 2 pairs of tickets to give away. All the information is on Instagram. That's where we are giving away the tickets, is on Instagram. You can easily find it by looking at our post. It's the one that says ticket giveaway, and there's pictures of these 2 ticket jackets. If you're watching online, they're Ranger ticket jackets. And I realize for the audio people that me turning my head away from my microphone is probably a terrible way to do this. So Tim's going to have a lot of work to do this week. And
thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. And then, so enter on Instagram to win. And then there is also, on Instagram, you know, it's the normal. You have to follow us. You have to like the post. You have to tag a friend. Every time you tag a friend, you get 1 entry for the tickets. Last week's episode has a secret 10 bonus entries if you DM us the information from last episode. So episode 49, Braving the Storm. You have to go in, listen to that one, send us the thing. I don't want to be too crazy about it, but there is a way to get an 11th free entry in that episode. So, you know,
crazy.
Also on this episode today, we are going to have a special guest join us later on to do some previews. So the Armchair GM himself, Mr. Brandon Caputo, will be joining us later in the episode to preview our game against Niagara on Friday.
Host of the Dog Pound.
The Dog Pound,
podcast.
The official Niagara IceDogs podcast. So
official. So we're official adjacent.
No, we're unofficial,
now.
I think is what?
Official adjacent. If we're talking to somebody official, we're official adjacent.
Yeah.
It sounds better than unofficial.
I think it's still unofficial. I think we might.
It is still.
We
unofficial.
should probably say that in our show notes as unofficial podcast.
Unofficial. Well, you know, we haven't been served the cease and desist yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And they know where to find us. They hear us.
Yeah, some of them have our numbers. So last week we had 2 games. I'm jumping right into it, Andrew. I'm plowing us through.
Okay, jump right into it.
Friday,
Let's go.
Ottawa 67s. We lost 5-3. Started great.
That's how I feel about this game. Yeah.
Started great, and we scored on a power play.
Right. There were good things about this game. It just wasn't the third period.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the good things about this game, Andrew?
Okay, the good things about this game are the power play scored. They looked very competitive with a really strong Ottawa 67s team through 40 minutes. It was not, I mean, it was 5-3 final. It was at 1 point 5-2. I didn't think that was super indicative of the overall game. I felt like the wheels fell off a little bit in the third. I thought that they took advantage of some very uncharacteristic goalie play from our friend Christian Kirsch. He listen, in a long season, you're going to have goals that you're going to want back, and that's just the nature of being a goalie. It's not a big deal. It's how you respond to it, and I have no doubt that Christian Kirsch is going to respond positively and play really well, and I'm not worried about it all. There was times where Jackson Parsons and you know, you look at goalies right across the league, they have goals that they want back. This was one of those moments. There was one. It went off his glove in the third period. It shouldn't have went in. He knows it shouldn't have went in. We don't have to harp on it, and he'll be fine. I thought Jakub Kromiak getting a power play goal to start to open this was a huge positive.
For sure.
5 minutes in, it was a great tone setter. It was great to get the power play. He made a great read to drop down low on a puck that was being cycled around and a rebound and then a pass. And I thought it was a great play by him, because I think that he has a little bit more offensive skills to his game than he probably is given credit for.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it, the good comes with the bad. 50 seconds later, they tied it up. It's one of those things that we've seen this before from this team. Sometimes they can let the other team respond very quickly. And that's something that I think that the Rangers can improve upon.
Yep.
I think all teams can improve upon this, literally across all levels of hockey. That was pretty much the first period. It was 1-1 going into the second. Moving into the second period wasn't bad either. Like, honestly, Ryan White scores. They score early, but it didn't feel like a deflating goal. I thought that the Rangers kept pushing in this second period. And this is where I wanted to get to it, was probably the biggest positive was our boy Evan Hedrick got into the points column, got an assist. I get it. I've seen it at the pro level. When the points aren't coming, it seems like it's never going to happen. And it's like you're cursed, because there's been a few times where that line is scored. He's been on the ice and he's been the third to last person to touch the puck. Yep. And you're like, oh my goodness, like he was an important part of that play, but he's not going to get a point for it. So Lachar scores his third. I mean, Lachar just keeps potting him, which is, hilarious in the sense of we were talking about him scoring nothing but beauties. Well, this one was actually just him using his physicality and using his size and being kind of in front of the net, which is great. Yeah. So, because that's going to be more his bread and butter at the pro level. Carson Campbell also got an assist on this one, a guy that's not, known for his offense, but I can, take me back to that Flint series where he scored a huge goal last year. He can contribute offensively, but most importantly, Evan Hedrick getting into the points column. I was worried about him in the sense of like just mentally how hard that's got to be.
Yeah, last year you could see everybody. Last year it was relieved for him too. Like the whole team, they made him go first down the fist bump line, and just everybody was so relieved and happy for him.
Yeah, and I like seeing him out there playing with Lachar and Anstis. I think it's a nice combination, because I think there's a little bit of safety there with Lachar, because I felt like earlier in the year, there was some liberties being taken with Hedrick because he's a smaller player.
Yep.
And I just think like coming off the major injury last year, he had no problem recording points.
Yep.
And so I think maybe mentally it's good to have him out there playing on the fourth line, that he's not being relied upon to score points at this moment. But that line's producing. Like I said, it's so funny because I just think Lachar is just a consistent offensive threat, which I never, I didn't think that when we first started watching Matthew Lachar play hockey, but he just puts himself in good positions. Like I said, I'd like to see him be a little bit more disciplined, but I'm happy with what he brings to the team, to be honest. So that was all the good.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all the good.
Yeah. Yep. Now we get,
and then the third period was not so good. We don't have to dwell on it.
We don't have to dwell on it.
But
I would just say I would add to the first two periods, Cameron Reid. I specifically was watching Cam Reid play in this game. Like you and I were at the game, and at one point during the first period, I kind of stopped watching the play and I just watched Reid skate around and do Reedy things all over the ice. There were just some amazing moments of it's just so many little things, right? Like he lifts the stick at the perfect time to break up a pass, and it's all these things. Like it could have developed into something, but we'll never know because there was no opportunity for anything to happen. He takes out the guy at the right time. He broke somebody's ankles just turning. Like he's just that guy, right? Like he's just an unbelievable player, and I think sometimes we forget about him and his impact because it is subtle at times. But this game in particular, Cameron Reid had himself a game.
Oh yeah, and I'll say this about Cameron Reid is that we've talked about, like, does this team need a little bit more identity? Does it need a little bit more leadership? I think we have to think about last year as well, Cameron Reid. I felt like Cam Reid was maybe slept on a little bit at the beginning of last year, and it might not necessarily been slept on because I think he just got better as the year went on.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is happening this year.
Yeah.
I think the more hockey that Cameron Reid plays, the better he gets.
Yeah.
And I think that that is just like, I mean, Nashville's got to be salivating over this because he if you're watching like the ISO cam of Cam Reid, you like everything he's doing.
Yes.
You like everything.
Yeah, there's no faults to his game. It is unbelievable. We also I didn't really see what happened. I didn't really go back and watch the replay. Luke and Elena's left this game in the second period. He did not play on Sunday in Oshawa. We have not heard anything. I don't want to speculate on what's wrong, but obviously he got injured in that game. And yeah, just wishing all the best to Luke Elena's.
That's a good thing. We were educated very early on that there's a reason why like junior teams don't release injuries, and it's to keep players safe when they come back from injuries.
Yep.
So if you're a Rangers fan and you're online and you're in the comments or you're even talking about it, it's best not to speculate on injuries because, you know, people are reading and it's being shared and whatever. So if you're a Rangers fan, don't speculate on Rangers injuries online, especially.
Yep. That's the best way to be a Rangers fan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the rink, we can all talk, but like at the same time, like it's like we don't want, you know, the opposing team to know what's wrong with our guys when they get back and maybe they're a little sore. You know, you don't want guys having a sore ankle being slashed at or whatever, right? I mean, obviously we know Elena's wasn't lower body, but that's just what it is.
The only thing I want to say about the third period of Ottawa.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the third period?
No,
I don't want to talk about the third
I don't want
period. I don't want to remember the third period.
I don't want to talk about the third period except for
I want to flush
except for Christian Humphreys came out, his body language completely different in that third period. He was so mad, and I don't know why, but that breakaway goal that he got to put it up to 5-3, that was an anger driven breakaway goal. It was flawless, unbelievable. And you could just see in his body language, it wasn't really about that game. It was about some other stuff. And he carried that into Sunday's game against Oshawa, where we won 6-2.
He had another breakaway goal in that one.
Segues.
He's just going to continue
I'm working on my segues
breakaways.
I'm working on my
segues and breakaways. There's your title.
There you go.
Right? This was... Well, they had to have this one. Let's just put it this way, right? Oshawa is a bad team this year. They look like a very inexperienced team. Yeah. They look like they're a team that you can get reeling, and that's exactly what the Rangers did. Was they came out really strong and they took control early.
Yep.
Can we go into the recap now?
Yeah. Yes.
5 minutes in, Jacob Zoo, our boy, gets a goal from another guy that we talked about being a highly touted prospect this year, Alexander Bilecki, who had a whale of a game. This is
Bilecki's world, and we're all just living in it in this game.
It certainly was. He was feeling it. I love the way this kid skates.
Me too.
This kid turns it on sometimes, and he makes the smart read and jumps up. I just love that. I just think there's just so much more to be unlocked in his game, and that's not a knock on him because we're just seeing he's just fulfilling exactly what I thought he would do this year, which is awesome. Yeah. And it was great for Jacob Zoo to get that kind of that break through the same way Hedrick broke through and got out of that slump. Zoo finally gets a goal, which is awesome.
Yeah.
For him.
It was notable in this game how it started a little bit in Ottawa with Chromiak's goal, but we saw some what probably looked like a little bit of a defensive shift, and we saw defensemen deep in the zone in both of these games. Like, I think there is a little bit of, we were going through a bit of a losing streak, so it was nice to see Bilecki and Zoo sort of get up in the action, but it also, to me, spoke out a little bit about some tactic changes that are happening within the Rangers right now.
Oh, for sure, because they weren't scoring.
Yes.
There was no scoring, right? Like, so you need to be more aggressive, especially with our defensemen who can, are offensively gifted.
Yes. Yeah.
So like we saw with Chromiak, like he's a better offensive player than he probably plays because he plays very like stay at home, steady Eddie kind of game. And Carson Campbell had a point. Balecki had 3 points in this game, and Zoo gets on the, and Cameron Reed's been on the score sheet more as of late, which is, I think people are probably thinking like, shouldn't he have more? Like he was a first rounder or whatever. But I think it's been so focused on shutting down opposing teams that the Rangers haven't been taking too many chances. And I loved seeing that from the coaching staff. You're right. There's obviously a tactic change. Power play is the next goal. 11 minutes into this one, they score again. The power play is clicking. Jack Pridham from Tanner Lamb and Cameron Reed. It was a beauty snipe from Jack. We love to see this because Jack I think is really starting to get going here now. And I think like we're going to see more and more. Honestly, I just think that sometimes I think Jack needs to be a little bit more greedy and selfish. And because he has a shot like this. And I think he's a little bit further out sometimes and he doesn't take that shot and he tries to like make a nice play and there's might not be a finish. I think when you have a shot like Jack Pridham, I just want to see him shoot more, especially from this far out, because he can score from this far.
Well, I think actually what you just said is what happened for this goal. Like it was interesting because I felt like that puck that Jack ended up shooting was actually being passed to Romano on the other wing. And because Jack was higher than he normally is, if he often got that puck in that spot, he would pass it to Romano or Humphreys or whoever sort of the other winger. But yeah, he took that shot, which was uncharacteristic. Might have helped because that might have been the scouting is that he passes a little bit more frequently when he's there. But yeah, he does have that shot, and obviously he can place it exactly where he wants it to go. So it was amazing.
Yeah, and I mean they outshot them 13-8 in the first period. They scored on the power play. It was it probably could have been, they probably had a couple more chances that could have went in, but it was 2-0 and you felt good going into the second period when Lecky on the power play again, 8 minutes into the period, scores from Pridham and Humphreys.
It was it was just beautiful.
It was beautiful. Absolutely.
Is he a winger now? Like what is this?
It wasn't as beautiful. It wasn't as, yes. And I mean, what's crazy was the pass from Pridham was bonkers.
Yes.
Like that's a bonkers pass. And it's right at like tape to tape. And Bilecki is diving, like dive bombing the net and just like, and it's just like a bump in. It's perfect.
Yes.
I loved this goal. I loved this pass from Pridham. As much as I just said, I know I'm gonna completely contradict myself. He can shoot and score from further out, but underrated is his vision passing the puck.
For sure.
I mean, it's anytime Humphreys is generating offense as well, that like things are rolling. I mean, this guy is just on fire.
Yeah.
He's been on fire the whole year. What can you say about Christian Humphreys that hasn't been said? Now, it got a little weird here now in the sense of they're going to score the next 2 goals, Oshawa.
Yeah.
And the first goal was a power play goal. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a power play goal.
Yep.
It's a power play goal.
Yeah.
It happens. Schabel played.
Our PK's been
amazing.
Yeah. Schabel's been amazing.
Some 10 bell saves.
For sure.
10 bell saves in this one.
He had some weird wonky pinball pucks that he was all over. He never lost his focus. Power plays.
Not once.
Our PK's been pretty unbelievable. Can't stop everyone.
He also hasn't been playing a ton.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, I know that they have long breaks in between sometimes, like because they play like Friday and then they don't, they didn't play since Sunday or whatever, but they practice all the time. I am curious if Kirsch wasn't a little fatigued in that last game, just like as he's just been in the net a lot.
I think he played probably more frequently than he's used to. This is his first year in the OHL, so it's like,
yeah,
he's probably he looked a little tired. I don't want to take anything away from him, but yeah, Ottawa, he looked a little tired.
He's having an incredible season.
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from our boy Kirsch, but I'm just saying, just from a development perspective, I like seeing Schabel in the net. I think Schabel is a great goalie, and I think that sometimes it's harder to be a great goalie when you have to watch a lot of hockey and you don't get in the net. So I was glad he got this start.
Yep.
And I hope he gets a little bit more of a share of the pie.
Yeah.
Not to talk out of turn, because I am just a fan and not a coach. But I would like to see Schabel maybe get, like when there's 2 games, I understand sometimes, like if it's not a back-to-back, you're gonna play Kirsch. But I don't know. I think the boys play really well in front of Schabel as well.
Yep.
And I thought that this second goal that opened the third period on Schabel was not a goal. So I thought it was even
the broadcast
motion.
didn't show it. So
yeah, I thought it was a kicking motion for sure. Yeah. But what do I know? It's 3-2. And you know what? This could be one of those like Sault Ste. Marie collapses, but it wasn't at all.
Didn't
literally
slow him down.
4.5 minutes later, Christian Humphreys, of course, gets his breakaway goal, his 9th goal of the year. And I mean, this is a playmaker through and through. And he has 9 goals and 2 breakaway goals in the last 2 games. So,
and he still looked mad from the last game.
Yeah. I like motivated humps.
Yeah, me too.
Put it that way. And then Cameron Arquette scored on what might be the apple of the year from Alexander Bilecki.
Yes.
I don't know. We might have to have a face-off towards the end of the year between the spinorama no-look from Christian Humphreys and the dive bomb no-look from Bilecki to Arquette. It's pick your poison here. I'm leaning towards Bilecki because the kid is a defenseman and was flying when he did it.
Yeah. It was a phenomenal goal. Phenomenal pass.
Phenomenal pass.
Yeah.
Phenomenal goal. Arky, again,
also unstoppable. Yep.
8 goals. He puts himself where he needs to be. He's got great finish. I get so excited when like Bilecki and Arquette specifically are going, because I'm like, the Odd Pod we're right about these guys.
It's almost like we know something.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't claim to know anything.
No.
But every now and then, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yep.
And then shorthanded empty netter from Cameron Reid, which was actually a very impressive goal, because he was not down below his red circle.
Was that not the most like Nashville Predator goal? Like, remember PK Subban when he would practice from his own end, lobbing pucks into the net during warmups? Like, I'm like, absolutely. Oh man, the Nashville Predators must be just like salivating.
Yeah,
he's coming.
He's
coming.
A great player.
Yeah,
I love watching Cam Reid play hockey.
The only thing I wanted to note from this game that we didn't talk about was Lamb was moved to the third line with Stark and Lachar in this game, and I actually, like, I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, why is Lamb on the third line? But it really made this team feel like it has a top 9 all of a sudden. And
I agree.
I think that's the waves that came throughout this Oshawa game, was that it just was relentless because they have these 3 lines that just keep going.
Lamb was still on the first power play. Yep. So I don't like the line combos. I wonder on a game against Oshawa on the second game of a weekend, I'm wondering if it's not a little load management-y, like where it's like maybe, like where we don't want to play all the guys together all the time.
I felt like they were specifically, for the same reason that you liked Lachar being teamed up with Hedrick in the last game. I wondered a little bit if Lachar being teamed up with Lamb to sort of have that brute force and finesse skill sort of together on a line, with Stark being like literally the middleman for that. Like,
and Stark we've seen is a very, very talented player who can skate really well. So so there is something there. I love a good balanced lineup. I've never been somebody who thinks you should load up like your top 2 lines and then have 2 lines of guys who, you're kind of like, what are these guys?
They can make it
there, hope they can play neutral hockey, so I just don't think the game is suited to that anymore. It used to be. It used to be like you had 2 scoring lines and 2 checking lines. I don't think that's hockey anymore. So I think you do have like a shutdown line like we saw against Windsor when there's like a one line like brute force kind of unstoppable line. You want to have a shutdown line against that line.
Yeah.
But I think mostly you just want to roll 3 or 4 lines of talented players, right? So I agree with you. That's a nice thing. I just think like they had to do stuff to get this team going on offense.
And I was trying to highlight that as a positive. I thought it was a good move. Okay,
absolutely.
3 stars from the weekend. Andrew, what is your 3rd star?
My 3rd star is Jason Schaubel.
Yeah.
I thought Jason Schaubel played really well. I love the effort in front of him, and I think that he makes some huge saves when he needs to. Who's your 3rd star?
I went with the power play. They went 3 for 5 on this weekend, and although I thought they deserved a few more power plays in specifically the game against Ottawa, it was really nice to see just the boys putting it together. And I felt like all the things that Bab said a couple weeks ago about the power play started to happen this weekend.
Well, that's funny because my 2nd star is the power play.
There you go.
So there you go. What's your 2nd star?
My 2nd star is Mad Humps. 2 goals, 2 assists. I
Nice.
like Mad Humps. Who's your 1st star?
My 1st star is the guys who needed to score, which was Jacob Zoo and Evan Hedrick. Hedrick gets a point. Zoo gets a goal. I just wanted to say, like, I just know when you're like it's not working out in any part of your life, when it feels like you're in a cold streak and you're in a slump, it's so hard to get out of that. And I just want to recognize that it's awesome when you break through to a new level, and it's, you're like, okay, everything's reset. I feel good.
Yeah. I had them as an honorable mention because exactly all those reasons. You gotta Hedrick also in the game against Oshawa, you could feel his confidence. There was some dirty dangles happening. There was some new moves. He didn't get on the score sheet, but it felt like he was cooking a bit. So I hope Hedrick keeps that up. My 1st star is Bilecki. How could you not? He had such a phenomenal Oshawa game. Of course. Like this kid is unreal. I'm so excited to watch more. He's a triple threat, offense, defense, personality. I can't wait to see him more.
I love the creativity of Alexander Bilecki, and I will say I specifically did not make him my 1st star because I knew he was the slam dunk 1st star for you. So I figured we would have had a problem if you hadn't have picked him, because I would have had to pivot and say, hang on a second.
Wait.
Alexander Bilecki was the 1st star of the overall Odd Pod this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what can you say that hasn't been said?
Okay, next week we got 4 games. We have never previewed 4 games for an Odd Pod week, which is, I don't know, it's not really the week.
Whatever that is. There's been 50 of them.
Exactly. 50 of them, and this is our first 4-game week. So Friday, we are at home against the Niagara IceDogs. Saturday, we are in Brantford against the Brantford Bulldogs. Tuesday, we are at home for the Teddy Bear Toss game against the Erie Otters. And then Wednesday, we are in London facing the London Knights. At least I'm sure we're going to see Jason Schaubel. I'm hoping for 2 games of these. It's basically where we're at. Like, just talking about the goaltending, it feels like we need to use both guys this week.
You kind of feel like maybe Friday, Tuesday, Schaubel, Niagara and Erie, and then the Brantford and London games, it would, like, you'd think would go to Kirsch.
Yep.
That's kind of how I would think in my mind they'd break it down, because they're both double headers.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Niagara, we are going to now jump to our chat with Brandon Caputo from the Armchair GMs. Welcome, Brandon Caputo, founder of the Armchair GMs Network and the host of the Dog Pound podcast, official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. You also host Saber Semantics about the Buffalo Sabres. You're a busy man. We invited Brandon on today to change things up a bit with our game previews. We have our first meeting with Niagara this Friday at the Odd. Brandon, welcome. Welcome to the Odd Pod.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for allowing me in enemy territory. And again, apologies you guys didn't get awarded the Memorial Cup, but the Auditorium is still my favorite away rink to go to. I believe I'm going to be at the game on Friday. Fingers crossed I'm able to come up for it, but always great to see the people up in Kitchener. Great rink, great place to watch a game, and with the Rangers, a good team right now. They're always fun to watch. So appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll see if you have me back on again or not. It depends on how good or bad I do.
Yeah, I'm not committing to anything yet.
I was going to say, when you brought up the Memorial Cup, I was like, all right, you're picking out a wound, but then you buttered us up with that last bit. You tied it all in like a true professional. So
love the odd. Even though it's the fake odd, because the real odd was in Buffalo and now it's torn down, but that's
okay.
Yes,
I did not know about this.
Yeah, I saw the Odd Club still exists in Buffalo, though. There's a club called the Odd. Yeah.
But now where the Buffalo Memorial Auditorium stood is now the Harbor Center. So the big place across the street. But anyways, when I think of the Odd, it brings back great memories of the Buffalo Odd. But the one in Kitchener is iconic itself.
We agree. You're on the Odd Pod. Let's be honest.
You're on the Odd.
You don't need to convince us.
So, Brandon, we'd love to have you. First of all, I was listening to your episode today. I think yesterday, the 24th. I wanted to just say one thing. You were talking about Calgary and you pronounced it correctly, and I just wanted to say thank you as the Calgary native on this podcast. Basically, everyone in this side of the world says it wrong, so thank you for pronouncing it correctly. Had to get that out of the way. Okay, but we're actually here to talk about the IceDogs. So Kitchener IceDogs, first meeting of the season. How are the IceDogs doing this season? What's going on?
Well, it's been a tale of 2 quarters of this first quarter of the season, I guess you could say. The IceDogs are on a 7-game losing streak right now. They were second in the Eastern Conference, first in the Central Division, and things have sort of went the other way as of late. Again, under first-year head coach Chris Barch, it's been a completely new system from what they were last season. They were more of a run-and-gun type team last year. This season has been more of a dump-and-chase team, a more of defensively responsible team that creates offense and, plays just a little bit of a different style, the way that they forecheck and things like that. Not a lot of carrying the puck in down the wing. It's a lot of, retrieve the puck, get the puck, and play a hard offensive game. That's why you've seen some of the trades they've made so far. You bring in a guy like Noah Reed. He plays a very solid 2-way game. You bring in Liam Spencer, both from the London Knights as well, and Frank Ivola, the first-year general manager as well. So there's a lot of firsts going on in Niagara right now with the front office and the coaching staff coming off of what was a few tumultuous seasons, to say the least. But again, they want to kind of, wipe the slate clean and bring in their own identity, and that's what they've sort of done so far. And a lot of top-end elite players, but still trying to figure out exactly how they need to play as a unit in the system. The power play has been something that they've tried to work on all year long. It's currently last in the Ontario Hockey League, even though they got one last game, but it's still a work in progress there. And the defensive structure as well, playing better in their end zone and just needing more from the team cohesion as far as all the forwards and defensemen, not necessarily the goaltending. The goaltending's actually been quite good. So that would be a quick synopsis of how the IceDogs have looked, through the first 22 games of the year, currently sitting 7th in the conference. But if they have a good week this week, if Kitchener works out well and they play Peterborough on Sunday, they could be right back up to 4th or 5th. So again, they haven't given up as many goals as maybe you'd expect in a 7-game losing streak, but playing Brantford and Barrie last week, that was running through the gauntlet.
We're also playing Brantford this week, so if you have any tips for us against Brantford, we'd love to hear those. But that's a whole other juggernaut. That is just a scary thing that's happening out east there. So yeah.
So speaking of juggernauts, I am curious because last year we saw kind of a little bit of a tale of 2 seasons with Kevin He a little bit. I think he's a great player. I mean, untrained eye here, but as a fan, I love what he brings when he's on the ice. They also have a draft eligible player in Ryan Robrick that, like you said, right now, as we're recording, is playing in the CHL tournament game. The question that I have for you is, these guys that are your higher level offense, are they struggling a little bit in this new system, or is it just now that they're just like buying in and it's growing pains now with this like 7-game losing streak? Are they better than what they've been lately, or were they overperforming a little bit? I know this is kind of a 2-sided question, but if you can talk a little bit about Kevin He and Ryan Robrick and the offensive leaders on the team, and then this new system and how it's affecting them and how they can get out of this slump.
Yeah, I would say that the numbers are definitely down offensively just because of the adjustment in the system. I would say that they're there are definitely strengths that these players have taken in their games this season as opposed to last season. They gave up the most goals in the Ontario Hockey League last year, guys, and they definitely didn't want to do that again. So again, when you have those top end elite players like the Kevin Hees, the Ryan Robricks, the Riley Patterson, who they acquired from the Barrie Colts, Ethan Zada, these are all, NHL drafted players other than Robrick, as you mentioned, away at the CHL USA Prospects Challenge, and going to be potentially a top 10 pick-ish in 2026 NHL draft. So
sure.
when you look at their numbers, I mean, yeah, they definitely tailed off in the second half last year. But now that Kevin He is back once again, when he's in the lineup, he just gives them such a different dynamic, as I mentioned on our Dog Pound podcast this week, with his game-breaking speed. This team is susceptible for giving up shorthanded goals, but they also score a lot of shorthanded goals as well. And Kevin He's speed has a lot to do with that, the way that he's able to just, really drive the net, really, have that he has NHL speed, like, already. That's one thing that I will say about Kevin He, playing up with the Winnipeg Jets, gotten a couple preseason games, and you can tell he doesn't look out of place in as far as his mobility. As you can see, so sometimes you see guys come up from junior and they might not be quite at that level yet. So that's one thing that I think that Chris Bartsch talked about this weekend in the post game, was that when Kevin buys into the little details and when he does all the right things on the defensive end, it leads to those offensive opportunities. And that's really what Chris Bartsch preaches with all of his top end players, is that if they play the right way in the details and the system of how they need to play in their own end, it'll transition to the neutral zone and the way they need to play offense. So to answer your question, Andrew, it's a completely different look right now. And again, the numbers might be down. Robrick, an 87-point season last year, 41 goals. Right now, he's at a quiet point per game, just came off of an 8-game point streak. So, for a guy that people expect to be drafted possibly in the top 10, 12 goals and 22 points in 22 games. Again, that's a point per game, but we know that Robrick, what he did last year, people were expecting maybe 110 point season out of him with possibly 50 or 60 goals. So I just think that they've really had to buy into a different type of play style. And Robrick even praised Chris Bartsch, his head coach, for teaching him, maybe a little bit more of the fine details, especially in a draft year that scouts are going to look at to make him more valuable, because everybody knows he's a shooter. But what else is he going to transition to the National Hockey League?
So you mentioned the goaltending. You mentioned the goaltending being a point of strength with the Niagara IceDogs this year, which is a huge improvement on last year. If you would talk about a little bit about the goaltending prospects in your system, as well as the guys in the crease right now, is it one of the strengths moving forward? Because I'm not super familiar. Like I said, we only see each other twice a year. Is it something that they can build on, or are these guys going to be like trade pieces?
Well, I'll say this, and last year was tough because, again, the team defensively just gave up too many goals. Owen Flores was an Iron Man for this team the last 3 years, going through some really tough times. He was able to get finally one playoff series in the books with the team, and he started three solid years and went through some really big trials and tribulations. And now, he earned himself an American Hockey League contract with Rockford. So really well earned for him. But moving on from a guy that, started almost every game until he was hurt later into the season. So you're going to have to replace a guy like that, and not necessarily one guy, but it's been sort of a platoon so far between Charlie Robertson, who's now an overager himself, who was backup for Flores last season, but was in and out of the lineup due to injury. And then Vladislav Yermolenko, who was an X factor. We didn't really know what was going to happen. He wasn't there in training camp. He arrived the opening week of the regular season, guys, from Belarus as an import player. So again, there was some issues with trying to get him over here with, all the political stuff, which we're not going to get into on this show, I'm sure, but visa issues is what I'll say, definitely, to try to get him over here. And now that he's here, he's been able to get acquainted. I'm sure it's not easy for an 18-year-old to come over to a completely different continent, not knowing the complete English dictionary, ends up in Niagara and says, what the heck am I doing here other than playing hockey? So I can tell that he's started to felt more comfortable. The guys have really, brought him along, made him feel part of the group, not really trying to isolate him in any way. Seems like him and Charlie Robertson have a good relationship already. Robertson, a very good feel-good story for him, had a double hip surgery this offseason, so it was really... We were wondering if he was even going to be able to make a full recovery to be ready to go. So the IceDogs goaltending after Owen Flores, graduated was really up in the air. So right now, Yermolenko as the import and Charlie Robertson as the overager. They've been, splitting the starts there. Yermolenko's got 15, Robertson's got 11. And for the games in Erie, Yermolenko hasn't been traveling to the United States games just, out of precaution. Wow. So their third goalie at the time, who was Matthew Humphreys, was the guy that was backing up Charlie Robertson when they did the Flint and Saginaw trip and the 2 games they've played in Erie already, being a geographical rival. But now Matthew Humphreys has been traded to the Oshawa Generals a few weeks ago. So they're riding with Yermolenko and Charlie Robertson now, because Humphreys was a guy they took in the 3rd round last year. They had a lot of high hopes for him, but it just seems like, with what Robertson and Yermolenko were giving them, he wasn't going to earn the opportunity here. So they moved him to a young Oshawa team where he could possibly at least battle for the backup spot there. And Frank Evola picks up a 4th round pick for Matthew Humphreys. So yeah, I mean, Yermolenko and Robertson, you look at the stats, they don't necessarily pop off, but both have a .900 save percentage on a team that, really struggles in their end zone right now. But I'd say no complaints with what Yermolenko and Robertson have given. And Barch has pulled both of these guys at different times this year. And he said not necessarily just as a feeling, sometimes trying to spark the team, not necessarily a goalie performance type thing.
I think having 900 in the OHL is a pretty solid, it might not be burning the wheels off, but is a pretty good way to be going about it. If you're lower than that, you might have other issues. Also, right. Foreign players, we know a lot about the challenges of trying to get them over. So
yeah.
Had a little bit of experience with that lately. In terms of other up and coming players or key players, like who are you excited about coming up in Niagara these days?
Well, Ryerson Edgar, their 1st round pick from this last priority selection, and there was talks of he didn't even sign till July. So I think they were waiting around to see who the new general manager and new head coach were. And obviously Edgar comes in now. He won gold at the World U17 Challenge for Team Red and Team Canada. So he comes back with some confidence there, 5 goals and 14 points in 18 games as a 16-year-old. Kevin He is kind of taking him under his wing. The team captain really likes the way that Edgar approaches the game and sort of being that mentor role now. Kevin He played in this league as a 16-year-old. Now he's in his 4th year, can really, show a guy like Ryerson Edgar the ropes of the Ontario Hockey League. So he's a guy that a lot of people are high on here, especially now that Brady Wasslin was moved on to the London Knights. Sorry to mention the London Knights again on the show, but it was a pretty significant deal for Noah Reed, who comes back as a local St. Catharines boy, drafted by the Anaheim Ducks, plays a really solid 2-way style that I think Chris Barch and Frank Evola really, wanted to bring into the group. So I think those are 2 of the guys that I would say are most intriguing right now. And with Robrick away, obviously we know about him, but Alexander Hage is another guy. If you guys are familiar, Michael Hage, the Montreal Canadiens 1st rounder, it's his brother. So he was playing in the USHL last year with the Chicago Steel. Again, a little bit of an undersized forward, but a guy that can move up and down the lineup as a versatile forward. Sometimes he's scratched, sometimes he's even playing top 6. So don't really know where he's going to be in the lineup in Kitchener on Friday. Robrick is expected to be back, so he will be back from Calgary and Lethbridge later this week, so he won't miss any games. So you will see him in the lineup, barring anything that happens in these 2 games, knock on wood, over the weekend. But I would say those are some of the guys to watch for. The back end is basically revamped from last season. Only 1 returning defenseman in Callum Shanowski. The rest of the decor is completely different, guys. Completely different. There's some guys that were NCAA commits that were signed now with the new eligibility. Some of those guys have been able to sign, and then they made a couple of trades. As I mentioned, Liam Spencer, Grayson Tiller comes over from the Barrie Colts. There's just a lot of turnover. They reacquire Artem Frolov from the Flint Firebirds along with Hayden Reed. So that was another big trade early in the year. So it's a really revamped team other than that main core of, Kevin He, Ethan Zada, Ryan Robrick, and now Brady Wasson was moved on now. So it's very much a completely new look IceDogs than we just saw last year with such a high roster turnover.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that that's a really positive step forward because, I mean, without getting into too much of the last few years, there was obviously some stuff off the ice with Niagara that was difficult to get through. I know probably especially someone in your position, you're the official podcast. I mean, it's that what's going on, things looming over, whatever. That kind of all goes away when you bring in, I think, a guy like Chris Barch, which I don't know him as a coach, but I do know him as a player. And he was a no-nonsense guy, hard-nosed guy. That was not a guy you wanted to upset on the ice. So I'm curious, how much have you seen that sort of no-nonsense accountability being preached, and how will that get this team out of that slump that they're in right now?
We saw it day one of training camp. We were there, and again, there's a lot of rookies and other players that maybe, won't be at this level, but I believe it was I don't remember the exact player, and I would never call him out on it, but it was a younger player, I think maybe in his first training camp, maybe, dogging it a little bit in the first scrimmage or first training session, and Chris Barch stopped middle of the drill. The entire group that was out there did a bag skate for 5 minutes. So that right there showed from day one that they were going to be accountable and they were going to put their best foot forward. As you mentioned, Chris Barch, longtime NHLer, played with the Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars. He was a hard-nosed type of player, guys, and he knows what it's like to have to scratch and claw for everything that he got at the pro game. So I think he's relatable to a lot of guys in that sense, and sometimes we've seen it in the National Hockey League. Sometimes the best players don't make the best coaches. It's sometimes those guys that did play in the third or fourth line that are the most relatable and that can coach and can teach, especially when you're teaching young men in 2025. It's a lot different than coaching young men in maybe the year 2000. So
Sure.
It's a lot different. And we see sort of for somebody that was a grinder type player as him, the way that he speaks is very intellectual. He gives us very thoughtful and insightful answers in the post-game interviews. They're not usually under 4 minutes with this guy. They're usually between 8-9 minutes between myself and another media colleague of mine that are down there asking the questions after every home game. He's very insightful. He really has a plan on how he wants to play. And they're sort of trying to re-implement some different things defensively with the box and other sort of things that they're trying to sort of start from square one, and it'll take them a month or two to get things in the right direction. But they have a plan for how the roster was constructed and with the trades that have been made, and now with the guys that they have in that locker room now, they really like the mix of it. But it's just continually the process. He told us at the end of the post game last week was. That is all they're working on right now, is trying to get everybody to play the game that they need to play to be successful within this system. And he's really trying to implement that. He's got a full week of practice and then before the Kitchener game. But there was a lot of positive takeaways from the Barrie game, even though it was their 7th straight loss. That was the best game they've played in a month. They haven't scored the first goal in a game since the Brampton Steelheads game back on October 31st, which they won that game. And I believe they're 9-1-1 when they score the first goal. So the last 2 games, they've scored the first goal, and both of them have been called back. So, and then things went off the rails there. So
that's tough.
It's a tale of, do they get the first goal, and then what happens there? Starting on time has been a big thing that they're trying to fix and not have to come back late in games. But down 4-1 against Barrie, 4-3. They had a puck in the crease with under 10 seconds left to try to tie it. So again, you don't want to take moral victories when you've lost 7 in a row, but a lot of encouraging things their last game that they're hoping to take into this weekend.
Sometimes it just takes that little spark to get the team back on track. But of course, we're hoping that doesn't happen until the game after Friday. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
Teddy Pertos against Peterborough on Sunday afternoon back in Niagara.
Yeah, there you go. That can be the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brandon, I think we've taken up enough of your time. If people are interested in finding out more about the Niagara IceDogs, the Armchair GM network, the Buffalo Sabres, how can they find you?
Well, you can go to our YouTube channel, the Armchair GM Sports Network, for our Dog Pound podcast, as you mentioned, Sabre Semantics. We've also got 2 OHL shows. The OHL in 60 podcast runs every week with Colin Ward or Reese Dumaney. And then I run an OHL Overtime episode where I interview correspondents and people from around the Ontario Hockey League on a bi-weekly basis as well. You can check that out, as I mentioned, on our YouTube channel or on all audio podcast platforms, again, by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. And we're available on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it now. These days we do some short reels and content like you guys do as well, and really appreciate the opportunity to plug what we're doing as well, and keep up the great work, guys. It's great to see you guys continuing to build up there in Kitchener.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate that. We just love to get you in the ear in Niagara to stop trading London, all your good players. So, anyways, if you can stop that, that'd be great. And
if you could stop that, that'd be wonderful.
Try.
Send them to Kitchener. Send them to Kitchener.
Hey, you've got my boy Andrew Vermeulen.
Yes, and we love him. He's great, man. Yeah.
Great dude.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, well that was fun. So, okay, the Brantford game.
The Brantford, the OHL All-Star game.
Oh my,
is what it is.
Yes.
Brantford Bulldogs coming into town.
So
they picked up, what was it, Zach Sandu, and it escapes me, somebody else from earlier in the season. I don't have it in front of me, but that's okay because they just got Jet Lachenko.
That's really the whole point of
Guelph
this
Storm.
is that they got Jet Lachenko.
It's like, what?
I think they needed more scoring. So
they haven't lost in regulation.
No.
This is bonkers. 24 games they haven't lost in regulation.
Yep.
At the point that we've recorded this.
Yep.
So hopefully we jinx it.
Yeah. Well, or Saturday.
Or Saturday.
Yeah. They've only lost 4 times total. One of those was to Kitchener. I mean, nobody had a full team that night, but it happened.
Hey. Yeah, it happened.
Yeah. Jake O'Brien, 40 points in 21 games.
Okay. Sure.
Banneker, 21 goals in 21 games. Like,
I don't even know what to say about this. It's an all-star team. Caleb Malholtra has 29 points and he's draft eligible.
Yeah.
He's draft eligible and he has 29 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have about 10 guys that would be leading pretty much any other team in the OHL right now. Like, yeah. So
now, what I will say is they have 3 overtime losses in their last 10 games.
Yeah. They can be beat.
They can be beat. So perhaps it happens on Saturday. I think the Rangers are going to have to play a perfect game.
Yes.
They're going to have to get out early and they're going to have to not be undisciplined because this team will make you pay. They have 118 goals for and only 58 against. Okay.
Their power play shooting
that's the same
40%.
That's the same amount as the goals against the Kitchener has allowed. So if there is a positive here in the sense of like in this matchup is that the Rangers and the Bulldogs have the same level of defense and goaltending, like goals against. So the Rangers have to step it up offensively, which we know they can.
They can. We started to see it against Oshawa. So as long as they keep carrying that forward against Niagara into Brantford, I think momentum will help. Also, Brantford technically kicked off the Tanner Lamb Revenge Tour. So who knows what he could be up to that game, Tanner.
They have a 60% power play
60
on the road.
On the road. Yeah, because they have a 40% all time, don't they? Like for the season?
They have a 30% at home, 60% on the road, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah.
60% of the time.
That's like that elite
power
Oilers
on the road.
Power play from 2 years ago. Like
that was
insanity.
It was automatic.
Insanity numbers. Do not take a penalty against Brantford.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the next game Tuesday is Teddy Bear Toss night. I love Teddy Bear Toss night. I really only learned about it last year. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Erie, we've seen them twice already this year. Whatever. Erliden, he's good. They have a really stacked top line.
They made a trade recently too. They traded Tyler Chandler away for a player.
There you go.
So there's going to be less little brother energy. I think maybe. I have no idea. I don't know.
It'll be there.
It'll be
I
there.
just hope somebody's sitting in the box for the Teddy Bear Toss. And
me too.
And then Wednesday, a weird weekday back to back. We're in London. I don't ever want to talk about London. I hate it when we're away because I have to watch the broadcast, and I'm gonna try and sync up Mike Farwell, or I'm gonna suffer through the broadcast so that I have content for next week.
Are we syncing up Mike Farwell? Because as far as I could tell, the London commentator has never thrown subliminal pot shots on his podcast at us. He's only been the subject of them. So maybe we have less beef. Maybe we have less beef with Greg than
Mohawk construction glasses. We got Mike. We thought
That's right.
we thought he was a friend of the pod too, and now he's ex-friend of the pod, but he doesn't have another title.
Now we just know that their bar is not as low as the Odd Pod. That's what I can tell. But the good thing is I think at some point this season we are going to go to Guelph and we'll do a little video of the mall and a little review of them all, I think, for the OHL podcast. We'll send it directly to them and they can
post it.
They can feature it.
Well, that was a jam-packed episode.
Certainly was.
It was. We got some thank yous. Of course, we have to thank Ken Bourne, our Director of Branding and Marketing.
Papa Bourne. Marketing, branding.
Our prodigal producer, Liam.
The Phenom.
Tim.
Timothy.
For writing, arranging, performing, creating, producing, engineering, and composing our new theme song and making our episode sound better.
The best. He's just the best.
And a special shout out to JJ for our awesome voiceover at the beginning of the episode.
Thanks, JJ. You're the best as well. Better than Tim, actually. Even better than Tim.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
Andrew, how can you find us on the social medias?
You can find us at The Odd Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And you can find us on YouTube. Just search The Odd Pod or Kitchener Rangers in the search bar, and we will come up now. So I'm pretty excited about that. You can Google us. You can go to our website to find our podcast episodes if you want to do that, theoddpod.com. Do it. Make it your homepage. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Live on the
no
edge.
Reason. Of course, we always appreciate it if you like all of our videos, subscribe, whatever, all the things that
like, follow, subscribe. Yeah. If you can comment too, we love that.
Commenting is so helpful.
I know it's annoying that we ask, but we found out even on TikTok that comments are like 10 times better for the algorithm than likes. So comment right now. Do it. Comment.
It can just be an emoji. We love those.
Or you can tell us we got something wrong. We don't. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It helps us.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Tell us if you followed the Armchair GMs.
Yeah. Make their day.
All right. And Andrew, as always, you can find us at
the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium.
See you at the Odd.